Okay. Right. Hello and welcome everybody. Oh gosh, I'm going to pop my headphones out before we start. Well, as usual with the wonderful Google Hangouts platform, we're having just a little bit of technical trouble. So here in the Table Talk Hangout studio with me at the moment is Peter Brown. Hiya, Peter.
Hello, Rick. It's nice to be back again.
Yes, absolutely, mate. It's really good to see you. And that's a much better camera and much better audio now. It's greatly improved. We can see, hear your dulcet tones and see your fabulous features.
Yeah, well, someone kept nagging me to improve on it, so all I could do was do just that.
So we're going to get started this evening, and obviously we're going to be talking about situations in the EU. We've got lots and lots of news, lots and lots of activity has been taking place over the last few months, and of course it's all ramping up in recent times with all the various debacles going on. Lots and lots of controversy, lots of interesting points. We're really desperately trying in the background to get our special guest who's going to come and join us tonight, Clive Taylor-Scholl. He's a person that has industry knowledge of the energy industry, many years of industry knowledge of the energy industry, and so we're really fingers crossed that we can get him into this hangout and get things working. But obviously we need to get the show going because we know that you guys that are out there in the community have been waiting to see and watch this.
Yeah, I can't call him on my character, so I'm afraid you're going to have to make another attempt, Rick.
Okay, that's fine. I'll send him another invitation. Let's see whether we can get any joy, and then we'll take it from there. So, obviously, there's lots and lots of news going on with the whole European situation right now, and not least, of course, Greece. And one of the things that I think that has, well, frankly, not startled me at all. Actually, I've been kind of expecting this. I felt they've delayed it for a long period of time, and that's the fact that they've put the banks on a bank holiday in Greece, and they've closed all of the wonderful. Here is Clive joining us now. Hopefully we'll be able to get some audio issues resolved, but certainly we've got our guest with us. Great to see you, Clive. Fingers crossed we'll get the rest of it sorted. Can't hear you right now, but we might be able to help you with that in just a moment. One of the things that you may well be able to do, Clive, forgive me, folks, whilst I just help with this technical problem, is that if you take your mouse, Clive, and just wave it around on the screen where you see the video stream, at the top you'll see a dark rectangle with a plus, a microphone, a camera, and a cog. The little cog next to the telephone is the settings. Now, in that settings, if you click on that, a grey box will appear, and in that box you can choose which web camera you're going to use and which audio device you're going to use and which speakers, and you may well find that you've got a choice of microphone there. Now also, if you choose between the different microphones, you should see the one that's working. When you speak to the microphone, you'll see a little green kind of indicator go up and down. I can see that right now for my microphone, and hopefully that will get you some audio.
Does that work?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
All right. Awesome. Right, that's absolutely brilliant. I'm starting to sweat slightly less now, thinking, oh boy, we're going to have to fill the whole show now with loads of chatter. Well, welcome, Clive. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's a pleasure to get you on board. As we said in the trial last week, it can be a bit of a nightmare getting the Google Hangouts technology working, but we are there. Great to see you. How are you feeling this evening?
I'm fine, and I've got a new cam and a new speaker, which is why it wasn't turned on. So hopefully you got a better reception tonight.
We have
Fantastic.
indeed, yeah.
Good.
I nagged Clive in turn because I got nagged by Rick. I nagged Clive.
Yeah. But
now, what can you nag Rick for, Clive?
Oh, I can't say anything about Rick because he's sorted everything out for me, hasn't he? Thank you, Rick.
Bless you. Okay, so right, well, obviously the topic of tonight's conversation is the EU, Ukraine, and of course the potential energy crisis and how that whole situation unfolds. Now, I
Yes.
should say for the audience that our website, theunituk.com. If you go and search on our website for Ukraine, you'll see that this whole situation this whole political and economic situation that unraveled itself in the mainstream media with the protests and riots in Kiev, you'll see that actually there's a stream of documents that take you back to 2.5 years previous to that, where this began as trade negotiations between between the EU and Russia, and whether the Ukraine was going to be drawn into the Eurasian Union or whether it was going to be connected into the European Union. And at the heart of that whole scenario, in actual fact, is the geopolitical issue of energy, and that's what we're going to be alluding to tonight and looking at the implications of that. As we go through this, I'm going to give the viewers search terms to go and look up some of the documents and the historical documents that are on our website. Peter will give you some pointers too as well, because obviously there's a massive archive of tens, potentially hundreds of thousands actually, of EU documents, news articles and information. So this is not just chitter chatter. You can go and evidence this for yourselves. So don't just believe us as we talk through these issues and we debate this. Go and have a look and go and see the news articles and find them on our website for yourselves. Okay, so well, maybe if I just hand over to you for a moment, Peter, just to give us what the latest news is that we know about EU-Ukraine. What have we been posting recently up onto the website that people ought to be mindful or aware of?
Well, first of all, I think Clive will agree with me that we ought to tell the people that Holland and England are almost self-sufficient in gas, so the Ukraine situation won't affect us greatly. Apparently at peak winter times we do get a top up from the Zeebrugge pipeline to increase our gas capacity over here, but most of it's stored underground around various places in England, so in that respect we aren't going to have a problem. One thing that I have posted recently is that Holland is going to drastically cut back their gas production because they're frightened of earthquakes under the North Sea, which means they're going to drastically reduce their export to Germany by 2020 down to virtually nothing. So Germany, who are at present 30% into the Ukraine, or for Russia from its gas, is going to be in dire straits. Also, that's come out in the last day or two, is that Germany's green policy is costing them absolute fortunes, and they may not be able to carry on with it. So Germany is going to be in some serious trouble. Perhaps at that point, Clive's nodding his head vigorously there. Do you have anything specific on that? Do you agree or not agree?
Oh, definitely. As I tried to explain to you last week, one of the problems with green energy is the subsidies, and for some reason the government authorises 3 times the generating rate for green electricity as it does for fossil fuel. So whereas a coal or oil-fired power station would produce £40 per megawatt hour, if it was green energy, so-called green energy, that would be £120 per megawatt hour. So already you're talking 3 times the cost for your power. So this is one of the reasons why Germany is having such a struggle to get the power that they require. The other thing with green energy is that because, as no doubt you know, the actual energy of a country is dictated by the frequency, not the voltage. So to maintain a 50 megahertz frequency in this country, particularly on a Friday night at 5 to 7 o'clock in the winter, power almost doubles. Green energy cannot produce that amount of power. You would have massive power cuts. So what we have to do is to use fossil fuels. You can't possibly get that much power from green energy, i.e. Biomass,
solar, wind, etc.
Yeah, etc. It's just not capable of giving that kind of increase in such a short time. So we have to rely on fossil fuels to keep that frequency. If we lose the frequency, then everything's going to go. Everything's going to start shutting down.
But that in itself isn't insurmountable, is it? They could use some sort of chopper circuit, so they do with low voltage, to convert the frequencies or phase.
Well, not no, because the frequency changes we're talking about, or the generation powers we change, is almost double. You can almost double on a Friday night, and you couldn't possibly do that. I can't see how you can do that, no matter what you do.
Because the voltage isn't a problem, is it? Because it's
transmitted
at very high voltages anyway. It's just a matter of transforming it to the voltage we need.
Exactly. Yes. And which brings you on to another problem with the frequency abroad. Frequency on the continent is 60 hertz. This country is 50 hertz. Our voltage is 240 in this country, whereas abroad it's 110. So the only way that you can get electricity across the channel is to convert it to DC, get it across, and then convert it back into AC, where you're losing an awful lot of power through the actual transmission of that itself.
Yeah. Well, it's a big problem, isn't it?
It's a big problem.
We need to get back to the main topic, though, I think, don't you, Rick?
Yes,
Sorry.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about that.
No, not at all.
Well, whilst you were talking there, what I did do was I posted into the timeline on Google Plus a link which will take people to a search on our website. The search phrases I used were Germany and energy, so Germany space energy. And what you've got there is loads and loads of documents from the current time. So these are listed in date order from the most recent, going back in time. And if you take a scroll through those pages, you'll be able to see that this has been on the cards once again for a long time as well. I can remember when I was doing the early nightly newses almost 3 years ago now, reporting on this very issue about how Germany was not able to sustain this the policy and the investment, having made huge investments. I mean, we're talking billions of euros of investment in green and renewable technologies, and still not able to get the production that they need. So much so they're actually they've been for quite a while having to import energy from France to support their energy network. Yeah. But for us, of course, sorry, go ahead, Peter. You were going to comment.
Just saying, they spent about 180 billion so far, euros. But they expect to spend another 280 billion to get them self-sustaining in green energy. It's just not possible. They're just not getting the investment.
Yeah. So so there are issues here, and I don't think that this makes green or alternative energies unviable or untenable for me. I think that they ought to be investigated, but I think that they also need to be considered on balance, on practical balance. Very often the deployment projects are done on large macro scales. It's almost as though the engineering thinking behind it is like trying to replace an implementation like Drax, for example, and saying, okay, how do we do that by putting hundreds of thousands of turbines up in the North Sea or something like that. I think you've got to be realistic about the comparison of these things. So I think that there is plenty of potential viability there for diversifying where your energy sources come from. But I wonder often whether the policies in Europe are being driven by two metrics. One is probably naivety, actually engineering and technical naivety by the policymakers, but also, of course, Europe as an institution is so so lobbied and driven by corporate and corporations, and the large corporates and large corporations basically divvy up the influence about them, and of course that means that the decision making gets skewed as to what are the best interests of the larger energy producers, like the wind turbine manufacturers or the solar panel manufacturers or whatever. So we haven't, we're a long way from getting this right, is the message that I kind of put across there.
Yeah, the other one, of course, is that Germany basically is the EU when you think about it. They, in March, tried to centralize all the Gazprom contracts so they could be overseen by the EU. This did not go down too well with most of the EU countries. You've got countries like Lithuania, for instance, that pay a third more for gas from Gazprom than Germany does. But others, like Hungary, which has just completed a deal with Gazprom, now get there cheaper. So they do not want interference from the EU. Mm-hmm. But the EU is Germany is becoming desperate now with the likelihood of a great deal of shortfall when they lose the Dutch gas, and they are not making green energy viable, so they are panicking somewhat, I believe. Of course, Russia now wants also to divert all the gas via the new Turkish pipeline, with a hub for the whole of Europe on the border between Turkey and Greece. Again, that's getting a lot of flack from the European countries, and they insist that if Russia tries to force the situation, they demand new contracts. At the moment, most of the Gazprom contracts are over a period of about 25 years, and they're getting quite old now. But new contracts will need to be done under the third energy package, which has been devised by the EU. Basically, it requires that electricity companies and gas companies are entirely separate. If a company owns a gas producing or distribution firm, they cannot own an electricity distribution firm, and vice versa. So that will complicate matters considerably as well.
What is this obsession with green energy? Because it's so expensive. Why we China are building 2 coal-fired power stations a week. So's Russia, so's India. With this little country is going to make absolutely no difference to the global emissions. Even Europe as a whole isn't going to be that much. And this obsession with green energy, when it's 3 times more expensive than conventional, I don't know. It's so fundamental to our civilization. Why are we taking such massive risks with this product, which could shut down a country, we could shut down our industry? I really cannot understand this obsession with green energy.
Well, it's an EU diktat. That's the end of the story, isn't it?
Because it's political. It's not scientific.
Yeah, no, agreed. What do you think, Rick? Rick?
I'm just having a little bit of network difficulty here, which I'm going to resolve in a moment.
That is a surprise. One of our hangouts with network difficulties.
I didn't hear all of that, but basically I got the implication, and the implication was that that green energy was significantly more expensive, and those sort of points that Clive was making. Largely, I agree. I think that that the current implementations or deployments of green energy have proven to be
spasmodic. You've gone frozen.
Yes.
The gremlin strikes again. One other thing that worries me, just while Rick's waiting to come back on, about the pipeline that they're proposing through Turkey. Now, bearing in mind that this will supply the whole of Southern Europe and most of Northern Europe, and yet it's coming through an Islamic country with this business with ISIS in the Mediterranean. It appears to be shifting across to Turkey. That's why the immigrants are suddenly turning up on the Greek islands.
Yes.
Now, do we really want to centralise all of our gas supplies in an Islamic country that's already partially radicalised anyway? They're fundamentalist. That's why they've not been allowed in.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we want them in Europe? Because there's
they're
an
not
awful
Europe.
lot of talk. No, they're not in Europe yet, but there's an awful lot of talk that they could be.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're not geographically in Europe, except for one tiny bit.
Not geographically. No.
Yeah. Sorry, Rick, you're back with us again, or not, as the case may be. No, he's gone again. I think he's gone to make a cup of tea. What do you reckon?
You could be right.
Not a bad idea. I mean, you are a great advocate of fracking, aren't you?
I think fracking could be our future, yeah, because we've got a massive amount of fracking of gas and oil under our country, and we could actually utilise that, get it out of the ground, and supply Germany and make a fortune, couldn't we?
They wouldn't like that happen, would they?
No, they wouldn't let that happen. No. And also, but the thing is, green gas is classed as fossil fuel and not green energy anyway.
Yeah. Apparently, there's been a bit of a fracas going on up around Blackpool at the moment, where the initial fracking development is supposed to be starting. One situation has been closed completely. One planning consent has been withdrawn completely.
Yes, it has. I saw that. Yeah.
And another one is being or going through difficulties.
It's only pressure from political means again. And the public, of course, are against it because they haven't been told the truth about it.
No, Rick, I know, is not a great advocate of it.
No, I know he's not. Or maybe I need to speak to him because I think he's got the wrong end of the stick with it. Yeah, I think it's progressing all the time. In the early days, yes, it did cause problems, but it is progressing. The actual risk to water is nowhere near as great as the Green Party advocate that it is.
Yeah. I tried to explain to Rick that the process now involves a concrete sleeve over the whole of the situation, and it goes well below the water table. So well below possible contamination. No. Basically, it's high pressure water. The only thing that concerns me with Blackpool wouldn't be a problem because they got the sea just across the way. Yes.
The only problem I can see with fracking is, have we got the amount of water we need to do it?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Would it actually cause us shortages in our domestic supply?
Well, we couldn't use domestic water. There's no way.
No, I don't think so. No,
but there's plenty of sea all around us.
Yes, there is.
Even if they desalinate it, but they certainly they cannot use domestic water. Apparently, only 3% of the world's water is potable. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yes, it's surprising, isn't it? And frightening.
Yes, it is frightening.
And a lot of that water is actually underground and not easy to get hold of. And of course, a lot of it is ice in the Arctic and Antarctic.
Yes, yes.
But
is Rick back yet?
Pardon? No, he's actually gone.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he's pulled away from us. Let me try and see if I can. Oh, I can't call him out.
There's no sign of Russia handing back control of Ukraine, the eastern border to Kiev yet, is there? Because that's a prerequisite for the lifting of sanctions, and then that would help with the supply to Germany of gas. But I don't think the EU are prepared to go along that way, are they?
No, that's one of the reasons why the member states aren't happy for EU oversight. They don't want the EU upsetting Gazprom. At the moment, it's the gas supply from Gazprom is fully covered by contract. It's basically outside of the sanctions.
Right, okay.
But that obviously would change if they try to force the gas through the Turkish pipeline and they have to renegotiate contracts, because then the EU could become involved and it could become a part of the sanctions, which wouldn't do either of us any favours.
No, and it also could become part of a terrorist plot to cripple us by ISIS to Europe. Because if they blew that pipeline up, we'd be in big trouble, wouldn't we?
We'd only need one bomb on a pipeline to cut off the whole of Europe, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Especially if they put out a pumping station as well.
Yes, exactly.
Which they've got the expertise to do.
Yes.
So the more diverse the delivery system is, the safer it is for us.
Yes. What's this I hear about? There's a possibility of getting gas from Argentina through fracking.
Well, the bulk carrier, expensive.
Yes.
I
would say very expensive.
Yep.
Plus, of course, it's defeating the object because of the fuel being used to carry it across anyway.
But why not? Parts of Scotland actually are supplied by Norway from their gas fields. Now, why shouldn't we do the same?
Exactly.
Instead of getting it through Zeebrugge, get it through, put an extra pipeline in from the Norwegian fields across to England.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I mean, they've got more than enough gas up there for their needs.
Yeah, they have.
They're completely self-supported. The other trouble is as well that with the Gazprom contracts, they're tied in to some degree with oil prices. The gas prices are, I mean, there's a lot of controversy with them because the oil prices are fluctuating, but the gas prices